Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Alpha Dog. Just got finished watching it on Max, which where it's currently hosted or streaming. It's my last day on Max and pumping out as much content as I can before the end of the summer, and then I'm going to have to go work at Target literally because I am the victim of crime. And there's nothing I can do. I'm done fighting it. I'm done trying to get jobs that are way below my pay grade or my credentials, and I can't even get an interview because of crime. Like, it's just pure crime. But nobody cares. I mean, this is America where we lie, cheat, and steal about literally everything. So I'm back with another movie review. So I'll give you my overall impressions and grade after reading the overview and some logistics as provided by Google. Then we'll be discussing, if you've not seen the movie, you want to shut it off, there'll be spoiler alerts. We'll be discussing plot synopsis and character development, and any similar movies or major themes. So, overview. It was 2006, rated R. It's a crime drama. It is based on a true story, which I didn't know. I'd seen like the very ending of this like once, but never really watched it. It says, drug-dealing delinquent Johnny Truelove lives a high life in LA, partying with his peers and getting a steady dope supply from Dad Sonny. However, when a dangerous customer refuses to pay, Johnny and right-hand man Frankie kidnap the junkie's younger brother, intending only to keep the kid hidden and happy until they get the cash. These would-be gangsters find themselves out of their depth when the police get involved. It was released January 12, 2007, directed by Nick Cassavetes. Had a box office of $32.4 million and did a budget of $9.5 million. So, the setting, it's set, I think it's like 1999-ish in California. 87% of the Google users like the movie, 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, and 6.9 out of 10 in IMDb. Nice. So, what did I think overall? Again, I thought it was enjoyable. Again, I always said like anything with historical backing of it, just individual case is always interesting to me. Good crime drama based on a true story. Good tone, good characterizations. Some screaming, don't like screaming. Overall, I'm going to give it a B+. I recommend it. I think it's highly entertaining and based on a true story, so you get some historical facts as well. So I recommend this one. If you've not seen it, you want to shop this video, there will be spoiler alerts. Movie opens up. You have Sonny Truelove getting played by Bruce Willis. And he's getting interviewed. It's like some interviews about his kid. Or being asked, does he get the drugs from the dad, Sonny? He's getting questioned by an interviewer, like a TV station, and he's just like, I know nothing about that. And so, kind of the setup is, again, Johnny's the son, Sonny's the the father. That has like some organized crime connections. There's another really old guy. Where's he at? I think Cosmo something. Harry Dean Stanton's character. Another old guy. And they just kind of like meet at a baseball park, and he's like ordering. He meets this guy named I don't know, it doesn't matter. Bobby 911, who's trying to do a big order, and he's going to his dad to see if he can do that. He's feeling it out, and so you kind of meet the crew. You have Johnny Truelove, who's kind of like the leader, and Frankie's the right hand man, played by Justin Timberlake. You have a guy named Elvis, who I definitely recognize from Animal Kingdom. He's Pope from Animal Kingdom. Sean Hatosy, I don't know. But Elvis, he's kind of like the bitch of the group in this movie. And so they're making fun of him, saying like, if Johnny wanted you to suck his dick, you'd suck his dick. And so that's kind of like a scene. Then you have the crazy dude, Jake Mazursky, and he's the older brother, and his little brother Zach, who's 15. Jake is kind of like, he goes by his parents' house, asks his dad for $800. The dad says no. He's got a stepmom who is his, half-brother's real mom, and they go back and forth. The mom doesn't want to, give the kid any more money, and the dad's like, I can't keep bailing you out. So he kind of leaves. And also in the Johnny's crew, they have Tico, who's another person, bunch of girls hanging around, like Amber Heard's in this one. Same with Amanda Seyfried. I definitely recognized her, I'm not sure from where. Olivia Wilde's in this as well. But regardless, there's a bunch of girls around. But they're just partying, having fun, drinking, talking, whatever, smoking. And Keith is in their crew as well. And so the first kind of thing that happens is Again, this Bobby 901 tries to set up this bigger deal, and Jake goes to Johnny, and Jake owes Johnny money, and Jake only has like a shitty job and like only has like $800, and Johnny kind of like throws it back at his face and is like, no, get the fuck out of here. And then Jake starts to like fight him or like assault him, and so they throw him out of Jake's house or out of Johnny's house, and then they go out to eat one day, and they're with Sonny, the dad, the old guy Cosmo, the whole crew, and they're kind of like harassing a waitress. And Johnny's like, Sonny goes to pay the bill for the whole table, and Johnny's like, no, I'll take care of it. And then he writes on it something like, tell your kike boyfriend to pay me my money. And so that's a scene. And then the next thing that kind of happens is Jake is furious for getting assaulted and being disrespected by Johnny. So they break into Johnny's house in the middle of the night with some of his crew members. Johnny's there. He has a gun, but he doesn't use it. They steal his TV. Jake literally shits on the carpet, and they just kind of mess up his place a little bit. So the next day comes, and all of the guys, like all of Johnny's crew or friends at least, are like coming over and they're boxing stuff up. And so Johnny's like, I wasn't here last night, lying to his friends that he wasn't there when the people broke in. And he's boxing stuff up to move because too many people know where he lives. And so they're doing that. Zach gets in a fight with his parents over smoking weed. They find a bong, and he sneaks out and kind of just like runs away. And so he's just kind of like walking down the street when all of Johnny's crew is driving. It's like him, Frankie, Tico, Keith, and they're going to just driving somewhere, and then they just see that it's Zach, Jake's younger brother, walking down the street. So they jump out, and then they abduct him. And so during the movie, they start counting how many witnesses see this stuff happen, and it was like 30 or 40, and pointing out people don't give a shit about literally anything. And they can watch them get kidnapped or hear someone screaming, and just be like, well, got to get to my 8 o'clock meeting, not my problem. I have no ability to have any maturity. I don't know how to behave. So then you have a country that's absolutely fucking terrible, like America is in real life. And really the whole world at this point. Everyone's criminals. But regardless, that's what happens. And so he gets abducted. They take him back. He's at a party. Again, they go to a bunch of different parties throughout. But he's back there. They go to one dude's apartment who's going to some sort of a fiesta. That literally means party, but I think it's like some sort of like festival. It's like an actual like organization, not just random generic party. And Johnny pulls out a gun. This dude's at the apartment. He knows Frankie, but doesn't know anybody else. So they're trying to look for a place to keep the kid. And they go to this dude's apartment and tie him up with duct tape. And so the dude has two girls over, and he has his own friend over. So the 4 people leave. He's like, when I get back, you guys better not be here. And so that happens. And then basically Frankie decides that he can keep him at his house, and because his dad's a big partier. Grows weed, grows a bunch of vegetables. When you meet Frankie's dad, he's like having a threesome with 2 girls. He's all super drunk and hungover the next day. So he tells Frankie that he has to clean up his mess. And so Frankie and Zach start cleaning up. They trim some marijuana. And Zach is kind of like, he's 15. His characterization, he ran away from his parents. He definitely got abducted, but he's just kind of like cool hanging out with like the older dudes kind of thing. And so they're working around Zach's house. He gets introduced to some girls, again, Julie and Alma. They might not be there till the next party, but regardless, some of them kind of find it's cool that he's been abducted or find it hot. And so that's just kind of what goes on. The Mazurskis get kind of worried after the first day. And it's this whole thing, there's time frames on the TV and on the scenes, but I think it happens in like 3 or 4 days. And so they're kind of freaking out. They ask Jake if they know anybody that would want to hurt Zach because of Jake's actions. And Jake lies and says no, when he knows 100% that it's Johnny. And so they have a phone call, and Jake absolutely freaks out on him. Jake loses his job as well. But he tells Johnny that he's going to slit his throat. And so they go back and forth. They have some parties. they just kind of chill out for a while. After like the first day, Zach is pretty cool with hanging out with Frankie. Things are like they're good pals. Frankie does take him. He gives them the option. Like on the first day, he's like, man, if you just want to get on a bus and leave, I'll just tell Johnny you just ran away. And so at that point, Zach declines to leave. He's just kind of like hanging out. So they go back and again stay at Frankie's place for a while. They have another party. Julie and Alma, they go skinny dipping with Zach in the pool. Maybe gets his wiener wet a little bit, literally and sexually. they're in a pool. But regardless, that's what happens. Johnny calls one of this organized crime lawyer dude. He's like, hypothetically, what are we looking at if somebody kidnaps somebody and demands ransom? Well, he says, what if somebody kidnaps somebody? He's like, you're looking at 25 to life, and if you ask for ransom, then you're looking at, guaranteed life in prison. And so now, I thought the tonality was good of just, of people committing, a casual kidnapping and be like, what's the consequences? And the tone of the movie, of the characterization shift. And so Johnny kind of hypothetically floats the idea of killing Zach to Frankie, and Frankie's like, no way. And he tells one of the girls the next day about that, and she's freaking out. And she's one of the girls, not the Alma or Julie character, but maybe the Olivia Wilde, Angela Holden. She's like absolutely freaking out that the kid's been kidnapped. So she wants something to do with it. She storms out of the house, and they kind of Elvis again. Frankie's the right hand man, but Elvis is kind of like the bitch of the group. And so Johnny floats the idea of killing Zach by Elvis, and Elvis at first he said, I think the exact line he says is, I think you should stop watching so many music videos. So it kind of seemed like the characterization was that Elvis denied it, but then the next day Elvis approaches Frankie and was like, we're going to kill the kid, you're along with it, we're all in this together, there's nothing really you can do, you're an accomplice, I'm going to go through you or you're going to be with it. And so Frankie really doesn't want to do it, they're going back and forth. But Elvis is going to do what Johnny says. Sonny, True Love, is absolutely freaking out on Johnny, telling him, call off the hit, don't do this, you dumb fuck, you're an absolute idiot. But Sonny's plan was to have Johnny turn the kid back over and sit down with the Mazurskis and be like, how much money do you want? And it still might not work, you probably still have to go to jail for a while, blah, 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 something. And so Sonny's trying to get Johnny to do that. Johnny's still like, I don't know what you're talking about or something. But regardless, they take Frankie, after the skinny dipping, he says goodbye to the girls the next morning, had a good fun time. And he's like, they're like, now we're going to take you home. And so he's, kind of like, I don't know if hungover or just tired, but he's like, you guys are my boys, I would never tell on you guys, I really like you guys. And kind of, the juxtaposition of we're going to go kill you versus this guy's pouring his heart out like, yeah, thanks for being my boys, yo. And so they trick Keith into coming along. They're like, we need your mom's car. Again, all trying to, have some sort of compliance or, complicitness with the crime. So they're also, have skin in the game. And so they take Keith's mom's car. They dig a hole. They take Frankie up there. And again, you have a bunch of different, witness counters. And this is kind of like at the end of the movie. And so they have some final witnesses, again, like 38 and 39. They go up to some place in California where you can hike. And these two people come down and walk past them. And they're just Zach is still not sure exactly what's going to occur. And so they walk up the mountain a little bit, at which point Zach realizes what's going on. He starts screaming, and it's like, Frankie's like, please help me, Frankie. And Frankie's like, we're not going to hurt you, now we're going to hurt you. Then he ties him up, and then Elvis knocks him over the head with a shovel, and then shoots him with like an automatic pistol. So Zach gets killed. Again, it's based on a true story. After like 3 or 4 days of partying, hanging out with these people, thinking they're their friends. And so Zach gets killed, and then pretty quickly Elvis goes to Keith's house to try to get some help to get out of the country. And cops show up, Keith gets arrested, and Elvis runs. Elvis then gets arrested as well. Kiko gets arrested, and Johnny goes on the run. So Johnny goes on the run with a girl. They try to have sex, he can't get his wiener up. And she's mad at him, and he goes outside to to get some cigarettes or just to go on a walk or something. And so as he's walking out, he sees cops pull up and arrest the girl. And so he goes back to, there's one other minor character that like drives him around for a little bit because they were boys in grade school or junior high or something. But he changes his mind a bunch. Obviously he's not planning the crime in any capacity at all. And so then he goes back to the Cosmo, the old guy, the like lawyer or just family friend of Sonny, his dad. And so he goes there. You see Johnny go into the house. The other guy drives away, and then they kind of also have, you know, we go back to like interviewing scenes. They open up with interview scenes, and then, you know, first person drama, and then go back to like an interviewing type cut scene. And they're interviewing. I don't know if it's an actual the real mother, but they're interviewing the mom. I don't know, because obviously Bruce Willis isn't the actual father of this guy, so I'm not sure if it was actually his mom at the end or not. You know, they're just, you know, drawn out scene. It's like she's like crying, sad, talks about how she was trying to kill herself a couple times, and that the overall people owed Johnny like $50,000, and Jake only owed him like $1,200. So effectively, Zach was killed over $1,200, even when Jake had offered him $800. Obviously, completely pointless fucking crime. But the wanna be tough guys around your friends, gotta hype it up. What do we do? Yeah. But regardless, that's what happens. We get some final scenes with Sonny being interviewed, and he's like, you know, I don't know where my son is. I don't know what you're talking about. Blah blah blah. And so obviously heavily implying that they helped him escape. And so the final resolution to the movie, again, from whatever reason, talking makes me yawn. I'm not tired at all. But you get some cut scenes. Tico gets sentenced to like 8 years for his role in the kidnapping. Frankie gets, I think, life in prison. Keith gets a while. And Johnny, he escapes, and he ends up getting, Elvis gets the death penalty, but Johnny escapes for a while, and he gets arrested in Paraguay, and about 5 years later. So again, this movie was released in like 2006, and so at the end of the movie, it's like, you know, he's awaiting trial. If found guilty, he'll be facing the death penalty as well. So I did not follow up with the case in any capacity, but I'm assuming it's already passed by now, and so overall, interesting story, good tonality, a little bit of screaming, that's why it's not in the A range for me. Overall, an interesting movie. Could have been a little stronger against a real story, so upper end of entertaining. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.